On commentary.
Hi, how is everyone doing tonight?
And we have officially started as per SRL, so we should see them starting here momentarily.
Yep.
Now, the beginning of the run starts out much more technical than some RPGs you may have seen in the past. There's a lot that they need to do right from the get-go. You saw that immediately they did go into their menu, making sure to put their message speed and battle speed, respectively, I believe, to 6 and 1, in order to manipulate the battles. They want the battles to be slow, so the enemies go slow, but their characters go the same speed, and they want messages to be fast as possible.
Right, because as Natara was saying, the battle speed only affects the enemies. There's only going to be one case where we actually want to change the battle speed that so enemies can beat us up a little bit, but that's much later on in the game. But what you see here is we're going to do a little bit of early manipulation for experience. So what we have is we have 3 party members, and experience is shared between everyone. So the more characters that are in the fight, the less experience gets allocated to each character. But if the character runs away, the remaining character gets more experience. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try and get Terra as much experience as possible.
Now, what you're also perhaps noticing is the running away mechanic in this game is different than some of the other Final Fantasies, in which each character can run away differently depending on their ATB and a hidden runaway gauge. So you're going to be seeing them running as soon as battles start from the get-go, and also while attacks are happening, because no character will run away while their ATB is not full, nor while attacks are happening. So there are also certain enemies in the battles, such as the mammoths here in this fight, which prevent you from running away at all. So again, we're trying to do all the setup to make sure both Vix and Wedge run away, leaving a question mark here, otherwise known as Terra, to get as much experience as possible. All throughout at least the first half of this route, we're going to see a lot of specific mechanics around experience routing in order to make sure that ultimately Sabin is level 11 when we get him, as that will ensure that he starts with Orbolt, which we are going to use gratuitously.
That is correct. But refresh my memory. Does lock come in based on level as well? I don't believe so.
Every single character you get comes in based on an average of your characters. So that's why, first off, we're going to make sure Terra's at level 6, which ensures Locke comes, I think, at level 7, and it just has a cascade of effects starting right from the beginning. Next up, though, is this Welk fight. And one of the things which we are going to be trying to do is there's certain boss fights here which we can do what's called a quick kill, where we can kill them before they go into their next form or dodging a bunch of effects. And the reason we want to get the quick kill here on Welk is because after a certain amount of turns, he is going to go into his shell, and that means we have to sit and wait, and we ain't got time for that.
Right. So what we see here is Welk is actually 2 parts of a boss. There's the head and then the shell. The shell has its own ATB, and what we're going to try and do here is we're going to time it to trigger the shell's counterattack right as the ATB is coming up to its max, so it doesn't pull the head into the shell and just make it untargetable, thus wasting a bunch of time, which we ain't got time to be wasting time here.
No, we really do not. So again, purposely triggering the counterattack. Rivers did get the quick kill, but unfortunately, you see, the head did go back inside the shell. For HolySmith, which means he will accidentally attack the shell, killing some of his party members. However, all he needs to do is just sit and chill here until the Welk comes back out, and Terra will kill it. You don't get any experience from most, if not all, boss battles in this game, so having dead characters really doesn't affect anything. Terra getting slimed here is going to slow things up a tiny bit, but hopefully not. Oh, we do have the unfortunate encounter where damage rolls are a bit variable. So it means that tech missile did not kill Welk. So we are going to get a second Gru cycle, as it were. But because HolySmith did have to wait for his turn, he does just have to wait, and he is in no fear of dying, which is something which can happen in this fight.
Right. So, just to cover a little bit more about the Welk fight, that the ATB is very well. We'll just say it's random at the beginning of the fight. So each person will get a different Welk fight. So the way we have to handle the Welk fight is always going to be slightly different depending on whether Welk will slime at the beginning and so on and so forth. So Welk is going down for HolySmith, which is great.
And to keep
But
in mind, the bosses themselves also have ATB, so that also plays into effect as to good or bad ATB. Now, what we're going to see on Rivers' phase here, all the text in the game scrolls, so the longer the characters' names are, the slower the text is. So they are going to rename all of the characters, or almost all of the characters, to one character names. The only exception in this particular run is Shadow, because I think he has a total of 3 text boxes, certainly not enough to slow things down. So it's usually not even worth it to rename him.
right, he has very, very few text boxes that we'll have to worry about. But we'll get to that when we're there. We're going to go over some story here. So we have Port. We're going to name her T for this run because her name's not Terra. I don't see any Terra here, do you?
Nope, no Terra's here.
No Terra's here. So poor T here was enslaved by the Empire, and well, after meeting with the Esper for some unknown reason, she got freed, and they took off the slave crown from her, and now she's on the lam from the. I think it's actually Narshe that's actually chasing her in this one, not so much the Empire, because the Narshe is actually neutral between the war between for the returners and other various countries and the Empire, who the Empire's world domination goals. So they're no good. We gotta beat a quick escape real quick out of here. So what you're
Absolutely.
what you're seeing here now is actually in Rivers. I'm very confident that Rivers isn't going to make me a liar here. Is actually on a step route, so he's going to get very pre-planned and predetermined encounters. So what he's going to do here is he's going to walk up here, and then right before he gets to a certain trigger, he's going to trigger one more encounter to level Terra to level 6.
Exactly, and that is part of that. Now, what isn't part of the step route is whether they get preemptive attacks, regular attacks, back attacks, side attacks, or pincer attacks. So Rivers has just gotten 2 preemptives in a row, which he knew he was going to get those encounters in those spots, but the fact he also got the preemptives is particularly good RNG. So he did just walk back and forth there to farm that one last encounter. You know when Terra has reached level 6 because she learns the spell Antidote, which is short for antidote. So we see that she has learned that there, so it means Rivers is safe to go up and trigger the next cutscene and the next phase of this speedrun.
Yep. So we're going to go through a little bit more story here. Poor Terra has some unfortunate amnesia, as most protagonists end up getting at the beginning of games, and we're some stuff happened, stuff got lit on fire, we're not quite sure. So, yeah, poor Terra. Poor Terra.
Yeah. And one thing you are going to notice with this game is it is fairly cutscene heavy, but it's not actually too bad. They have a pretty decent pacing for spreading out the cutscenes with the stuff you're doing, except for in a portion at the end of the later on in the run, which we will certainly talk about there. There's a couple of different methods that the runners have for mashing through text, depending, like in these cutscenes, depending on what type of cutscene it is. Generally speaking, not this cutscene not included. When you're in a battle, then you can just hold A and it will skip through all of the text at its fastest possible speed. But if you're not in a battle, then you have to mash the A button. Now, in some other of the speedruns, you can mash different buttons on the controller to advance text. Unfortunately, that is not the case in Final Fantasy VI. A is the only button to advance text, but we still do take advantage of that and other such tech, as in like pressing up and mashing A when heading up to a character, or holding A, sorry, to ensure that we open text boxes at the first frame possible. So you should hopefully see some of that movement tech here.
Yep. So we still got a little bit more cutscenes here, but you know what? You wanna talk about your favorite character right here?
My favorite player character, yes, that would be our plunder and Pilferer, otherwise known as our treasure hunter Locke, or in this run, L. So he has just showed up. He is working for the Returners, who are the rebel faction, who apparently this old guy is also helping them. So he has sent Locke on a mission to save the Magitech riding witch, quote unquote, and Locke is going to do just that. They figure if they can get her to the Returners or the Rebellion, that she will be able to help them win. So he is off to try and save her. Unfortunately, as we're going to find out shortly here now, they are on, and by they I mean Narshe is currently on their heels and have just showed up to attack. Now, this fight that Rivers is directly going into is one of two such fights that we're going to see in this run, which is an interesting mechanic that they introduced just for Final Fantasy VI, which is multi-party battles. And they set the maps up so it's kind of a maze and a special walking path, and you're supposed to move all three parties and switch between to attack all the enemies, but we don't have time for that. And we also don't have time for tutorials, which we're going to skip. So the basic strategy for this one is to just get Locke out of the way and send Mog's party all the way to the end. And what will happen there is when you are moving and the enemy you're trying to pass is also moving, then you are able to walk past them without triggering the encounter. Okay, I'm just making sure that Rivers is also frozen for the everyone else.
Okay. Yeah, I
I
was
think his
gonna check
stream
that
just
in a
died.
second here. Yeah, it did. But
Yeah, so he is still, the music was still playing, so he's still going, but yeah, I think he might be having some stream issues.
yep.
So
So we can go ahead and recap a couple of things. So we're gonna move forward and do some really neat stuff here because we don't have time to be fighting all of these soldiers. So a fun
yep.
little thing about them is while they're walking by, while their foot is up, which is the indicator I use, you can actually walk by them without triggering the encounter.
Oh, Rivers came back for a second, at least on my side. He has beaten the Marshal.
Okay. So yeah. Oh, wait. Okay, yep, he's back up on my side as well right
Well,
now.
he's not moving, but there we go.
Yep. So let's just. Rivers is going to go through a little bit of transition here between here and the next town. But so yeah, on HolySmith's side, we're just going to walk down and we're going to fight this guy. And a really cool feature of this game is each character. We're not going to be able to see it in this game, but each character can learn magic. But addition to that, each character has a specific job ability they can use. In this case, it's HolySmith actually ending up with an extra battle here. But so Terra can cast magic. She gets a second ability later on. Locke can steal, and Mog can dance. And each character will have their own ability as we go along. And as we go along, we'll discuss each one as they come up.
We're not really going to discuss Mog and his dances because, unfortunately, we're not going to see him again. This run, which only goes up to the point where you fight Kefka at Narshe, as the tournament is so named. So we're not going to see Mog again. We don't get a chance to re-recruit him. But yeah, each of the characters have abilities which can be pretty useful. And what's happening in the Moogle fight here against the Marshals is you want to do your best to take out the Lobos in front. You want to then set everyone to take out the Marshal. And Mog, because he is a player character, has a few items we can steal because, as mentioned earlier, we're not going to see him again. So we take at least his Mithril Pike, and hopefully we have time to take both his Pike and his Shield. And we're going to use those to equip on other characters later. So thank you very much, Mog, for your service. It's been a pleasure doing business with you.
Yep. So going back over to Rivers now, he's on to the next town, and we're going to come up to our favorite Lecher Young King. I'm going to refer to him as a Lecher right now. So his name is Edgar, but for our purposes, we're going to refer to him as Mr. E. King E here is going to be a cool character, and he's actually going to be a very important part of a lot of the battles that we're going to be involved in later on. But once we get through all these wonderful, wonderful, long cutscenes.
Yeah,
So many
so
cutscenes.
yeah, so again, there are a fair amount of cutscenes here, but you may not have noticed, but at the instant that Rivers walked up to talk to Edgar, the cutscene just started right away. And again, that was because he was holding A while holding up, and so the first frame it could start, the cutscene did start. So the hardest part about Figaro is movement. And first, you have to learn where you're going. And even once you learn where you're going, it's just a tricky place to maneuver. So, learning how to walk around Figaro really helps. Though, right now, again, it's walk around and trigger some things. One thing I do want to talk about briefly, since Holy is doing it, is the overworld movement. Because with step routing, it is for the most part very basic in that if there's no encounters, then where you step and how many steps you take don't matter, such as in Figaro. But when you're on the world map, not only does it matter kind of where you step, there are certain tiles which are no encounter tiles. And those are there are routes specifically made for there. Um, Other such places like dungeons, caves, you just take the shortest route to get to where you're going and you'll stay on step route. But yeah, world map movement is pretty precise.
Yep. So with the no encounter tiles, it's not that you won't get an encounter there. That's absolutely true. But it also doesn't progress your step counter, which is very important as well. Because unfortunately, Holy is about one step off where he wants to be on his step route right now. But luckily, later on in the run, we will have a chance to rectify that.
Yeah. Another big part of this run is just knowing what cutscenes you do or don't need to trigger, because there are certain things which, in a casual playthrough, you would walk through and do, and it would seem completely normal, but it actually is not required to trigger any of the plot. So in this case, Rivers and soon HolySmith did have to go and get the cutscene about Sabin. But as you're going to see coming up, there are going to be certain situations where you think that you're supposed to talk to Kefka, but instead he'll walk up and talk to soldiers. Or in this case, as Kefka and the soldiers come up, he is going to have to talk to both soldiers and then talk to Kefka. And that brings up a kind of fun game that we all like to play, in that if you can talk to both of the soldiers precisely enough and with a frame perfect input, as Rivers has done, you can initiate a staring contest between them. They won't go back to their initial pose, so it's a lot of fun to do since you have to be mashing anyways.
Yeah, a neat trick to that is actually after you press the button for triggering the text and then moving the box forward, if you just change directions and continue to hold the button, it will talk to that NPC on the next frame available. That's what actually causes the staring contest. Ooh, lots of fun, non-real critical stuff. Actually, let me not say non-critical. The staring contest is very critical. I believe it validates runs, but that's just me.
No, we know what validates runs, and that's coming up later.
Oh, well, I mean, don't want to give away secrets just yet.
Oh, that's why we're not saying what it is yet.
So,
So again, we're more cutscenes here. Locke once again insists he is not a thief; he is a treasure hunter. We totally, absolutely believe him. In fact, we don't believe him at all. And he's trying to persuade Terra, as part of the theme of this run, to help out the returners. We're not going to make your choice for you, but please help us. Oh, still not making your choice for you, but help us.
right.
So there's a lot of that.
At this juncture in the game, Terra is the only person that can actually use magic, which in this world is crazy. Crazy. So apparently, she mowed down with the slave helmet or crown on. It was with the slave crown on. Mowed down 50 magic tech armors, which is that's a little impressive to say the least.
Yeah, so everyone definitely wants this particular powerhouse on their team to the point that the Empire was willing to brainwash her. So as you saw there with Rivers, he didn't bother going down to talk to Kefka when he showed up because he's not the plot trigger here. So we went ahead and talked to the soldier and decided chocobos are definitely way better way to go. Like look at them go. They're so shiny. Look at them.
By the way, Figueroa is on fire. The stone castle is on fire. I dare anyone to figure that out. But yeah. So we're just gonna beat a hasty retreat. Don't worry about Figueroa. It's fine. The stone's on fire. Also, it's a submarine.
Because he's a son of a submariner.
Yep. So, uh, Edgar is a master of mechanical. He's a good engineer. He figured out how to make his castle sink under the sand. It became a shark for some odd reason. So, say goodbye to Figaro. We won't see you again in this run.
Nope, as far as we're concerned, it's in the sand forever.
Yep. So Kefka's like, well, man, we gotta go get them. So we're gonna send a couple of Magic Tech armors. What? They won't get away, right? Right.
No way, like against this powerhouse. So speaking of powerhouses, we have one of our own, and it's Edgar. For those who have played this casually, I'm sure you're all familiar with a certain cutscene having to do with magic, and we're not using it. It's not happening. That cutscene takes about a minute and a half, and it is not at all required because we have the powerhouse that is Edgar and his auto crossbow. So 2 hits from the auto crossbow, and those Magitech armor are absolute toast.
Yep.
Something to keep in mind, though, is until you have actually reached the town of South Figaro, you cannot use magic with Terra in battle at all, or you will still trigger that cutscene. So it's something you have to keep an eye on.
Unless you're racing against Natara, where it is encouraged to use magic.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, one of the neat things about that last fight is the reason why we want to use the auto crossbow is because it's a back attack. Our entire party is actually in the back row, so we're doing reduced damage, which is one of the fun little features of the Final Fantasy games if you've played any of them. But the auto crossbow doesn't really care about being in front or back row, so we use that and we take out those Magic Tech armors. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
And if you didn't have enough of that fight the first time, you're about to see it again for Holy. So it's the exact same strategy. It's one of the easy boss fights because there's really little to nothing that can go wrong short of accidentally using magic, which most of us will not do. The fun thing about that chocobo when you first get it is the instruction is to tap left twice in order to line your chocobo up right with the cave, but that actually takes more practice than you would think. As it's very precise as to how far you're moving there. But generally, it's not a super important movement. But what is important is making sure to fight the encounters in this cave. Now, this is a bit of a unique run in that there is certain places in the run where you do want to be farming encounters, again, to go along with that experience routing. So the battles that they're going to fight in the South Figaro Cave, plus the next place we're in, should ensure that between Edgar, Locke, and Terra, that they are respectively levels 10, 9, and 8 each. This is all extraordinarily important to make sure Sabin is at level 11 when we do get him in the future. So again, this is why they're fighting the encounters.
Yep. Luckily, in this cave, Edgar is the powerhouse with the auto crossbow, and all these guys should die with one auto crossbow. But in certain cases, we just need to queue up an attack from Terra or Locke, and they'll clean them up very nicely.
Absolutely. Those Blearies are occasionally need an extra hit, like Scratch Dragon mentioned, but I've very rarely seen it. In almost every case, the auto crossbow just takes it out. Now, this particular world map that Rivers is on is probably the most annoying of the world map walking, because again, you're walking very precisely in order to get those no encounter tiles, and you want to enter through the top of South Figaro because you want to leave through the top of South Figaro. Now, Rivers is picking up only 2 sprint shoes for some reason. Unsure on the strategy of that. Generally, it's you would pick up 3, but I'm assuming that what he is going to do is he is going to walk all the way through South Figaro for some reason.
I think he's
Oh,
doing his
intriguing.
shopping early. Yes, he's
I
doing.
love
He's
it.
buying a different weapon here, so I think he's gonna end up skipping the rune blade. But I
And he won't do the other alternate strat that some of us do, which is buy a second mithril pike in I think it's Nikia. Um, Whatever the name of the town is after the Serpent Trench. Either way, he was buying a weapon that he will need for the latter end of the run, and got his 2 sprint shoes. And he can just make sure to unequip one of the sprint shoes, so he won't actually need all 3. It's just another menu you have to remember.
right. So, welcome to Mount Colts. We're not as buff as we would like to be, so Edgar can't one-shot the brawlers just yet. We're gonna make a small little detour. So we're gonna run from the brawlers, and then we're gonna want to trigger some very specific encounters, which we will cover in a bit here. So with some clever mapping and good manipulation, we'll be able to get our levels right where we want them to be.
Absolutely. I find the general strategy for the fights on Mount Colts, especially if you're on step route, is if it's inside, don't fight it. If it's outside, fight it. At least until you get your levels. Now, he did go off the path, or what looked to be off the path, in order to pick up the Atlas armlet, which gets immediately equipped on Edgar. And that's going to increase, I believe, his strength, which not only increases his physical attack, but does increase the amount of damage he does with the auto crossbow.
Right. So this is just personal tech here for anyone that is interested in. Sometimes experience can get kind of dicey, but with the Atlas armlet on, Edgar can actually one-shot the brawlers with the auto crossbow as well. So here's this special encounter that we're talking about. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna cast Fire with Terra, auto crossbow with Edgar, and hopefully run away with Locke from at least one of the 3 encounters that we want to force here.
And you
That will
see,
get us.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. That will actually get us into the levels that we want, which is 10, 9, 8, respectively on the screen.
Yeah, so and he did make sure to run while any of the actions were going in order to build up that gauge, the running gauge, because he needed to make sure that Locke ran before either Edgar or Tara's ATB gauges filled up again. Otherwise, they would also try and run, but we want them to get the experience. So for routing purposes, it is actually pretty important to make sure Locke runs.
Yep. So just as a extra little note in there, each character, a lot of them have the same running gauge, but Locke actually has a smaller gauge to fill than other characters do. I believe it's Locke has the smallest gauge to fill, and then there's a big chunk of characters afterwards that have a similar build, and then one character, which we will talk about later, who has the largest gauge to fill.
Which thematically actually makes sense. Locke as the treasure hunter, not a thief, definitely would be the quickest to run away. And our most noble of knights certainly would not run away from a fight.
Some guy will. He has a very distinguished, distinguished, distinguishing feature about him, which we will. Who knows? Maybe we'll sing about it.
Maybe you'll sing about it.
Well, I mean,
Enjoy.
I figured that's why I'm here.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
Oh yeah, it's Go-Go! You figured it out, Couch! Damn it, that was supposed to be a spoiler. You've ruined
spoilers.
everything.
Where's the button to ban this guy?
Yeah, ban.
Ban him. So yeah, we're gonna just walk towards our next boss fight here, fighting a couple of things here and there to get our levels up. What you're seeing on HolySmith's screen is he's actually switching around a couple of the items. We're gonna equip that mithril pike that we got from Mog on Edgar, and we're gonna equip the mithril blade on L. L is his name, not Locke. L. I was gonna say B for a second here, but that doesn't make any sense for.
No, I was gonna say
players,
E
yeah.
is usually B. That's my own personal tech. I like to spell out BLT because I like food.
Yeah, Natara likes to confuse me. That's what
Oh,
she
it's
likes.
so
to do.
great.
Yeah.
Also, I posted the actual character we're talking about in chat. You're
Right.
welcome.
So this Trillium fight you see on River's screen is it could be kind of a nuisance because they have a move called Bane Touch, which will poison our characters. And well, if you remember any poison, you get a very funny screen when you're walking. You lose a lot of life, and that's just no good for anyone. So it looks like Rivers is going to get through it without any real issue here.
Yeah, and he also he has made sure he has enough MP because Terra needs to have at least 20 MP when heading into this fight. Otherwise, she will run out of magic without doing enough damage to Vargas and his two teddy bears there. So that is something you do have to manage along with everything else.
Yep. So cool thing about this fight is what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to cast Fire with Terra first, and then Auto Crossbow with Edgar, and then change rows with Locke. So because what Locke is going to do is he's going to attack. Edgar it doesn't matter for him because he's just going to auto crossbow whichever row he's in. And then we're just going to, after that, because we have the cursor set on memory, all we have to do is hold A and then finish the fight.
Exactly, and we want to make sure that Locke's row is the last move there because we want to get as many of those bears killed before he moves into the front to try and minimize the damage. But again, we do want the damage he will be dealing, so it's why we don't move him before the battle starts.
Yep. So a little bit of inventory management is cool with this because in this game, just like Final Fantasy IV, we can go ahead and switch out our weapon and our shield during battle, so we don't have to go into the menu to do that. So, what's this? Hey, it's my personal favorite character, Sabin.
Pretty cool, dude.
Very cool, dude. So, Sabin, unlike his brother, isn't really good with machines. What he is good with is he tells people to catch these hands, and he has the Blitz command, which the Blitz command is you put in different motions. So, in this case, what he's about to do is he's going to do the pummel command, which is left, right, left, A. And he will do a special move that will do quite a bit of damage, but he has a very weird caveat to that because you would think it would do physical damage. No, all his blitzes do magic damage, which blows my mind.
Yeah, that was definitely something I learned by participating in this tournament and learning the run. So it's definitely interesting, and we take advantage of that particular mechanic of the blitzes later. But one of the things about the blitzes, like as mentioned by Scratch Dragon, they do have an actual controller input on them depending on what blitz you want to do. And unfortunately, there is a glitch, and not a good glitch, which has to do with the blitzes, in that if you press A too soon on the blitz while pressing down in the menu, that down, which was supposed to be just to bring you from attack down to blitz, will actually be input as the first input on the blitz. So you could think you enter in the blitz absolutely perfectly, but unfortunately the glitch caused it to take that first down. So for anyone who had many times where they were greatly displeased with Sabin and his blitzes, that's a good likelihood that is why.
Yep, so Rivers here he finished up the boss, so he's gonna walk towards our next rather lengthy set of cutscenes here. But more counter tiles and stuff like that. So we're gonna end up we're trying to get to the returner's base to get to this guy named Ben, and I mean, I have certain feelings about Bannon, so I might have some bias. So, Natar, do you want to talk about Bannon a little bit?
Nope. I have no words about Bannon other than he is a very important dude. So he is actually the leader of the Returners. So he is the very person that they are bringing Terra here to meet, because he's a big important person. The unfortunate thing about Bannon, which is going to be demonstrated sooner rather than later, is that he is going to join our character's party, and they decided to make it so if Bannon dies at any point, and I mean any point, it is game over. So, and there's very little in the run that he does which is particularly useful, other than occasionally saving you when your health gets super low. But again, providing RNG and everything works out fine, usually you're pretty good, and so he's just there to give you another chance of losing. if the RNG just decides, hey, let's hit Bannon a few times. It's not very good.
Yeah.
So
I
he
don't.
tends to be very disliked.
We don't always rip, but when we do, Bannon's dead.
Yeah, it's usually because Bannon. It's very sad. So, but that's okay. There are definitely worse things than Bannon. So, what is happening here in the Returner's Cave is you have to talk to a few different people in order to trigger the next set of cutscenes and events. So you have to talk to Locke, Edgar, and Sabin, and there's some items that we need to pick up here, which Rivers is currently doing, though he is being trolled super hard by that poor returners dude who just wants to have a conversation. But he's like, nope, not doing it.
Yep. So he's just gonna talk to these guys, and then we're gonna go talk to Bannon, and then we're gonna do some very special declining of requests, we'll call it.
Yeah,
So
it makes me giggle, honestly.
yeah. So a little known fact, and I didn't know this growing up either, is if you say no to Bannon 3 times to become their hope, you get a different item, and you actually skip a cutscene, which is rather lengthy. That no one needs to go through lengthy cutscenes after going through so many cutscenes ourselves. So instead of getting the gauntlet and going through the cutscene, we get the Genji glove, which, if you remember, for everyone that may or may not know, you get to equip 2 weapons, which is great. The Genji glove is glitched in a good way, and the other one is not glitched in a good way. So the gauntlet and the Genji glove is glitched, unfortunately.
But we want the good glitch if we're going to pick, and it's amusing because you can also just say no to Bannon once and then talk to the gentleman who decided to like RNG block poor Rivers, and he will give it to you instead. He will give you the Genji glove, but that does not skip the cutscene. So I believe if you do it exactly perfectly, it's like 0.7 of a frame faster. But if it's at all wrong, you can lose up to 10 seconds doing it that way. So most people choose not to do that.
Yep. So if we had any problems with our step routing, here's our chance to reset it, because what we're going to do is we're going to do a handy dandy little manipulation here, so we only get a couple of encounters on the river, because we don't have time to have multiple encounters on the river, or too many encounters. And what we're also going to do is we're going to do some neat little equipping here. So we're going to yeah, okay, so just making sure here, because he does have a different weapon than I remember the route to have. So he's going to move Bannon to the back row. He's going to equip the Genji glove. Edgar is going to have 2 weapons. And what he's going to do here is save, reset, get to the save menu, reset again, and then wait for a specific movement out of the NPC coming up that will actually manipulate the river, so we only get 2 encounters, which is
Yeah, those 2 encounters are ones which are mandatory. You will get them no matter what, but all the other encounters, we have just made it so we're not going to get them. So for anyone who is familiar at all with this river, watch the beauty that is this river. It's magical, I promise you. It's excellent. Once you river manip once, you will always river manip. Now, the 2 battles that we do fight are important, though, in that the first one we make sure to run away from. And you know how we mentioned about Bannon liking to die in things? He's also really slow at running away, so that makes things a lot more perilous. The second battle that we're going to be fighting here now, after going left on the river, is 2 pterodons. And these are important because of experience routing. We want to get Edgar 1 more level, or just to give him that bit of extra boost, which is he's going to need for damage output later. So the easiest way to do that is to just have him attack and have everybody else run away. So he solely takes all of the experience. So for the sake of 1 fight, it helps a lot.
Yep, so he will move to level 11 here. And just in case anyone wants to know, Bannon is made of paper, so anyone touches him, he kind of crumples into a little ball.
It's kind of amazing.
Also, River Manip for Rivers is glorious.
Right?
How many times can we say river?
Yeah, well, let's get a count going. But he is on his first stop there. There are 2 stops. Both of them have save points, and there are 2 points where you get to choose the direction of the river. You want to choose left both times, and by holding down on your controller and also holding A, you will automatically choose that option. Now, you really do not want to accidentally press one of the other directions, as you get extra. I think you have a chance of more encounters, even if you've manipulated the river. Plus, it just wastes time.
Yep. And as we saw there for Rivers, he's going to go ahead and move Edgar to the front row because we're not going to use auto crossbow anymore because now he has the Genji glove, which he's going to do a lot more damage with, and he's going to go ahead and safety save for this wonderful, wonderful octopus teacher fight.
Yep. So our wonderful Eltros. So this is another one of those boss battles which can be extraordinarily dangerous. But if you manipulate it and get the quick kill, then it can go in extraordinarily fast. Now, like with the Welk fight, what we're using here to manipulate it is called a wait trick, where we purposefully go into the menu when someone is doing an attack and it pauses the ATB gauge for everyone, but more specifically the enemies. So if we do that, we can ensure that their ATB is not moving up. They're not doing extra attacks. And if we get our timings correct, in this case, we can kill Ultros before he says delicious morsel or does more than his mandatory 3 attacks. So we'll see how that goes. It is incredibly difficult. And one thing I've noticed about the Ultros fight is if you're trying to do the weight tricking and you just don't have the timings down, you're more likely to die.
Yep, here comes the delicious morsel.
Yeah, which you can see.
Yep.
Dangerous.
Well, I mean, Rivers lives dangerously because if you check this, Bannon's actually in the front row.
Mm-hmm. And the reason he does that, I believe, is manipulating his position for the scenarios.
Yes, because he wants when we switch rows in battle, it doesn't carry over to the next battle. They go back to the original row. So Bannon's in the back row technically once the scenario pops up next. So it's going to be handy dandy. Oh, well, there goes my buddy. Kind of thrown out of the water very nicely.
Yeah, and so it looks like Holy did not do the river manip, or something got messed up there because he is getting encounters. So we'll definitely have to see how the rest of that goes. He just has to run from those. Now, for the 3 scenarios, there is a very specific order which we have to do them in generally. And we start with the Sabin scenario.
Yep. So with the Sabin scenario, at this point in the game, our party got kind of split up. So Terra's going one way, Locke is doing some stuff, and Sabin's doing some stuff. So Sabin got thrown out of the water, as you saw. So he's going to try and get over to Narshe his own way. But in order to make this a little bit safer for ourselves, Rivers is going to pick up Shadow right here because we could go ahead and walk forward with Sabin by himself, but it becomes a lot more dangerous if you do it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a cool thing about Shadow is he has the throw command. So if you remember, some ninja in some other game, I don't remember, but you could throw weapons and certain items. So the throw command is going to be very important later on for one of the fights. So we actually have 2 items because. But funny story, Locke, when he left, he decided to just leave naked. So he has no items equipped right now. So we ended up with an extra dirk that we can throw at certain enemies later if things go kind of wonky.
Yeah. What's also really important about the walk down with Shadow is you want to avoid all extra encounters while you have, or completing extra encounters with Shadow in your party, because otherwise you give him a chance to leave. And we have picked him up for safety in the first place, so that is certainly something we do not want to have happen. And now we have hit what I consider my least favorite part of the game, which is the Imperial Camp. And the reason I don't like it is not because it's difficult, because you're literally doing basically nothing. It is cutscene after cutscene. They give you control back for like a few frames just so you can move and trigger another cutscene. So it tends to be a little interesting that way. But we're going to be introduced to a new character here shortly because the Empire is currently attacking and trying to defeat this castle, this kingdom of Doma.
Yep. Doma was one of the places that gave rise to the returners, so the Empire doesn't like them too much. But um, wait for it. Someone's coming, right?
Rumor has it.
Who's that man? Mustache man, and that's all I'm gonna give.
Yeah. For anyone who's not familiar with Cyan and that song, Mr. MV, one of the French runners, he has coined that song and it's beautiful. You should look it up sometime. Look up Mr. MV and Mustache Man. It is
Yep.
beautiful.
So what we're gonna do here is Cyan has the sword technique command, which after X amount of time and a gauge, you can perform different techniques. And the one we're gonna want to use here is called retort, which allows him to counterattack. But uh, we really want it to go fast, so we have to switch the battle speed to 1, so this guy, the leader, will attack again quicker so we can kill him. So, but what we don't want to do is use dispatch, which is number 1, and let it be known, this fight is actually dangerous if you actually use dispatch by accident.
Yeah, you can absolutely be killed in that fight, and it's game over. It's not like, oh yay, let's proceed with this story. No, if you die there, it's game over. So
Yep.
you have to be really careful not to select that first battle tech. So again, we finished that, moved down a little bit, and then we're back to Cutscene City.
Yep.
HolySmith getting through Ultros, and he has recruited his own shadow, and so he is making his way down also to the Imperial camp. Then we get to meet everyone's favorite or second favorite Imperial General, General Leo. Really awesome guy. Could be my friend if he was not my enemy.
Absolutely. But really fun little tech here is, I never knew this, but when you can re-equip Cyan, not Sabin, Cyan with the sprint shoes to make his scenario go a little bit faster in the castle. I always did it the very slow way, but we're speedrunners, so I mean, we figured it out, right?
Absolutely. So that's why not only did we change his battle speed to 1, we did make sure to put on those sprint shoes. So it's why we get 2 or 3 pairs so we can kind of juggle those around as people give them up and we hit their scenarios. So right now we're hearing about Kefka, and he's planning to do some very terrible things with some poison, and we are going to have none of that. So we're gonna fight Kefka because that's a thing to do. Now, you will notice that we have not changed the battle speed back, and the reason for that is for these 2 battles with Kefka, he is considered a player character, not an enemy. So the speed of the battle doesn't matter because the battle speed doesn't actually affect Kefka. However, after the second battle we're going to fight here now shortly, we will make sure to change the battle speed back to 6 because it starts mattering again.
Yep. So, well, unless you're me and you do it immediately so you don't forget. So, one of the cool things about this is now that when we're changing our battle speed back, well, what we're also going to do is we're going to go ahead and rob our buddy Shadow, who decided to generously come along with us, because he has some really nice equipment that we want.
Yeah, so we want to take it off him and we want to put it instead on Shadow, or not Shadow, sorry, on Sabin is one of the strategies that some people do. So for right now, though, we are fighting this pack of soldiers and Templars, which we actually have to take seriously, unlike Kefka. And the general strategy is regular attack the soldiers in the front, do an Aura Bolt on one of the Templars by Sabin, and then Shadow is going to throw that handy-dandy air lancet that we picked up in the Returner's hideout. If you're lucky, and Shadow gets hit, he has a chance to counterattack with Interceptor, his dog. So that can always help and sometimes saves you the Air Lancet, depending on how it goes. Now, what flavor of Kool-Aid do you think that Kefka really likes and wants to share with everybody?
I don't know about Kool-Aid, but I have some hankering for some purple stuff. Move the Sunny D to the side. I need some purple stuff in my life.
Oh man, so tasty. And hopefully the people of Cyan like it too. Or of Cyan, of Doma like it, because they're going to be drinking it whether they like it or not. And it looks like they don't like it. They don't like it at all.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong about the people of Sion, because he's technically going to be the last one there,
Oh, snap.
unfortunately.
Hey, he's got his buddy who somehow survives, but we never see again.
It doesn't count. Never seen the guy before.
Yeah, don't
Never
know
seen.
who he is. He is
But
an unnamed nobody.
unnamed nobody. Oh, this is poison. Bum bum bum.
So yeah, it turns out that Kefka is not really stable whatsoever. And so he makes sure he's like, oh, these guys are opposing us? I don't care what the rules of battle are. Poison will take care of them, and so he does it. He even goes as far as to make sure a letter is sent to General Leo, luring him away so that Kefka can do whatever he wants. It's really quite diabolical and evil.
That was weird. Did you see Rivers walk slowly, then walk quickly?
I don't know. I know he was walking slowly at one point.
And then started walking quickly. Okay, so, well, regardless, we want.
Well, I think I'm not sure if he had the sprint shoes on, and at some certain points of while we're walking, the cutscenes take over. So this is again, we walk a little bit, and then the game takes control for a little bit, and then you walk fast again. So,
Okay, yeah, there it goes.
pretty
Yeah, he doesn't
interesting.
have the sprint shoes on
No.
Cyan,
Well, and
actually.
again, I think that's why he didn't buy that third one, so he just doesn't bother to put them on Cyan.
Okay,
So
so
he takes those couple extra seconds hit.
right. Okay, so the world is right. Never mind. I'm just crazy. Haha. Oh well, I mean, I can't do the Kefka laugh. That would be phenomenal.
That would be phenomenal, but yeah, nobody can do
Yeah,
the
so-
Kefka laugh other than Kefka.
Unfortunately, Cyan's kid and wife is now. They drank the Kool-Aid, which is not recommended. So
Nope.
he's gonna go to the camp and we're gonna go fight some people. So
But
luckily,
he's going to be incredibly polite with you when you offer your help,
right.
even though he's in a total homicidal rage.
Right. So these fights, the first two fights are going to be pretty simple. They're just grunts. So what we're going to want to do here is just attack. And if we're lucky, Cyan will just attack instead of using dispatch.
Yeah, because even though he's listed as being in our party right now, he is completely on automatic pilot. So Cyan does what Cyan wants, and we kind of just have to hope the RNG is nice enough that he either just physical attacks or dispatches someone useful, which is basically nobody in any of these fights because anyone that it would be useful to dispatch, it doesn't do enough damage and it's just slow, but he could one shot by attacking. So yeah, we basically spend this period just hoping Cyan's gonna do something good. Also, something you may not know, you can actually walk in between Cyan and the soldiers. And then you fly out, and there's extra text boxes because you just walked in front of him attacking people.
Oh darn! You took away my quiz from you.
Right, you're welcome.
But did you know? We'll just roll this back while Rivers actually finishes up this fight because things are going kind of awkward actually. Because Cyan is not doing what Cyan needs to do. But did you know you could actually talk to Interceptor and get one extra tech box when you're picking up Shadow?
I did know that.
It's
Pretty shiny. There's also there's some other cool places where you can get fun text boxes, but we'll save that.
Yeah, we'll save that quiz for the next time. So
yeah.
we decided, man, we might have taken out enough grunts and whatnot. So it's time to beat a hasty retreat. So we're gonna jump into these magic tech armors and we're gonna roll out.
Isn't that when you do what you do when you're storming like an enemy's stronghold and you have access to some of their most powerful weapons? I think it's pretty smart. I think the least smart thing they did was leaving them behind afterwards.
Well, I mean, gas and everything. Do you know what the gas mileage on these things are? They're atrocious.
I would believe it. Now, these fights are pretty trivial battle-wise because you're in Magitech armor, so even fighting other Magitech armors, you just want to destroy them. So the big purpose of these fights is for inventory management because you have certain items which you are going to want at the top of your menu for ease of access. Plus, you're going to want a couple of empty spaces up there for items you're either going to pick up or buy, again, so you have them at the top of your menu for easy access. So there's a lot of sitting around waiting in these fights, so it's perfect to just do that management here. And it's also time for take 2 of Cyan's family is dead because the Empire is evil. So get all your tears out now.
Reminds me of poor Batman.
No.
How many times have we seen Batman's family die? You know what? That's not important. We're playing Final Fantasy. So Rivers is moving on with his crazy magic tech armor. And I mean, really, what we don't want is anyone to really die here, that would just be inconvenient, we'll call it.
Yeah,
Because
to put it mildly.
we're going to be going through a very dangerous area next. And we're kind of short on items and, like, stuff to cure and revive people, so we want everyone to stay alive for as long as possible.
Yeah, and there definitely are some convenient cure points in the game. Like they tend to throw around healing springs and whatnot, but you need to survive for long enough to get to those. And some of the curative items that we have it will cure you as long as you're alive, but if you're dead, not so helpful. So there is a lot of mitigation done in the run to keep characters alive. I never knew you could walk underneath that branch. Learn something
Yes,
new today. That is
it's kind of
brilliant.
weird, but you can't walk underneath that sign there.
No, I did know that. And yeah, no, it's always good to, if you die before the recovery spring, but afterwards, you're just losing time. So
Right.
another
So
fun part of the route is just learning to walk through this forest.
yep, it's a bit weird, and it can be kind of daunting, especially if okay, Rivers didn't get the bad encounter, so these ghosts are pretty dangerous because they like to cast fire, and if you get in a pincer attack with them, they are quite inconvenient to kill. So if you get in a pincer attack, you're in for a little bit of hurt. So
And by a
going
little bit, you mean a lot of hurt.
enough hurt. We'll say enough
Hmm.
hurt. So um, what is this? There's a random train tracks out. Oh, well, what could go wrong? There's a train out here. We could get out away from the Empire on the train, right?
It's definitely the smartest thing ever to go on a totally dilapidated, train in the middle of nowhere. Like, I
Dilapidated. Those
love
seats are great.
Oh yeah, the seats are great. The outside not so much. So I love Sabin. He's a fantastic character, but I'm never so sure that it's the smartest thing to have your big tough guy making the smart decisions. When someone in your party says to go on a trash train like that, you should maybe hold them back a bit and say maybe not,
I don't know. He's got
because
muscle, and if we see something special, it could be why he got on the train.
could be. But in this case, it turns out our party is on a train headed for the underworld. So if they don't get off, they are quite literally dead. So you
Yep.
see Rivers taking some extra steps at the end of the second car. He is farming that particular encounter so he doesn't get a worse encounter in the next train.
Yep. So funny thing about the train is you see those ghosts walking around. We can't walk through them, unfortunately. So they could end up eating quite a bit of time if they don't move. And because we're on a step route, it makes things kind of difficult sometimes. So seeing here, Rivers trying to run away from these ghosts here, and unfortunately, Cyan is that one person that his bar is just very large to run away because he's the tough soldier that won't run away from enemies. Barf.
Yeah, absolutely. So it turns out that there is no escape, that there's nowhere to run and nowhere to hide on this train. But they absolutely did not anticipate Sabin and his inclination for foolhardy plans. Foolhardy but pretty fun plans.
I
So
mean, he's pretty strong. He is
oh yeah,
the bear.
that is true. So they are here on this train car, and he's like, "Don't worry, guys, I totally have a plan." Whee! So I believe he didn't even care about the plan. He just wanted to jump on train car roofs. So his life stream is fulfilled.
Well, he did want to be a cowboy. Well. Cowboys didn't have to account for people actually chasing them still. So, but luckily on the inside, switched to detached train cars, and everything's okay, right?
Yeah, exactly. Nothing could possibly go wrong.
Nothing could go wrong. And luckily, the switch also opens up the door to let us into the train.
Multi-purpose switches are so important.
Yep, so here we go with the mind overs and the still goings. The still goings is probably my favorite enemy name out of all of these. So
Yeah, some of them are great. Now, you see, Rivers is not trying to get around this ghost. He's just sitting there, and that's due to the step routing. The step routing in this train is incredibly precise. So, the instant you start moving even one step, even to get away from one of those ghosts, you are off step route. So, he definitely does not want that. So, it would actually save him more time in the long run to just stand there. And he made sure to enter in the backside of that train car, so he skips a mini cutscene and make sure to pick up those earrings. Now, as Scratch Dragon mentioned earlier, Saban's blitzes, their damage is calculated, or it's considered to be a magic attack. So, pretty soon we're going to be making sure to equip Saban with that set of earrings, because that will increase his magic attack, which will increase the damage of his blitzes. So definitely a plus.
yep. So being on the step route here is very, very, and I'm going to emphasize very important because you see those bombs. Rivers doesn't have any real problem getting away from a single bomb, but sometimes they come in packs of three when you're not on the right steps, or they can pincer you, and they have some very, very nasty party wiping attacks that we don't want to see. But forget the party wiping attacks. We found the front of the train, and we're going to shut it down, and we're going to get out of here easy peasy. But oh wait, wait, wait. The train is
Yeah.
chasing us. Run!
Yeah, we told the train we want to get off, and he's like, no. So the strategy for the train is to use a Phoenix Down, because it's an undead train. So you know what undead don't like? Phoenix Downs. So that is the reason we needed to make sure to save Phoenix Downs and not have dead people, and also have them at the top of our inventory. Also making sure to rearrange his inventory there.
Run invalidated. He
But his
didn't do
run
the
is
special.
invalid. We will
That's
talk
a
about
shame.
that once we get there for Holy, but let us just say that his run is invalid, so we're gonna cry a little bit. But he did save a few seconds, so you know.
Seconds or validation? What? What?
Right?
We live in a time. It's 2017. We need validation. I won't be suplexing the train personally, but we
No.
need
Hey
to.
now, hey now, back up. You can't say you're not gonna suplex that train and judge Rivers on it. Just saying.
I very well can. I'm in the commentator's booth.
Whoa. But yeah, it's it's one of those things which is totally fun, because one of Saban's blitzes involves literally picking things up and slamming them to the ground, and it's called suplex. And there's many enemies which just have an immunity to this attack, because why would you be able to suplex that? But for some reason, this train does not have that immunity. So it's way too much fun to just suplex the train. And it looks like we've got a dead Cyan here on a HolySmith side. So unless he's planning to get the extra Phoenix down, which I'm assuming he's not, we may not see the suplex on his side either, because he may choose not to do it for safety.
Right. But on a speedrunner's note, having Cyan dead is not actually a bad thing. It's a risky thing, but it's not a bad thing, because now you don't have to go through the long running animations for Cyan and his forever running away. But luckily, later on, we'll fix that. But on River's screen, poor Cyan's family, they get on the train and they're off to the underworld, unfortunately. Rip Cyan's family, but luckily for us, we get to go in and make a couple of changes to items and stuff for our next boss fight. So,
Yeah, making sure to put both the earrings and the True Knight on, and we'll see the importance of the True Knight shortly. But this is a perfect time to do things like that. Go into your menu to mess around with things, because this is a mandatory wait time. As you can see, he's just standing there and nothing's happening, because there's a counter going down, and until that counter has ticked its way through, there's nothing you can do, and it continues to tick down even while in the menu. So it's a perfect time as soon as it starts to do some menuing, and that is exactly what he did. Doing a second set of menuing now before this mountain. Many people will do it right before you jump down the falls, but basically, what he did is he made sure that Cyan did not have anything equipped. He removed everything from him and just re-equipped the sword, because the next glitch that we're going to be doing requires us to kill Cyan, and that's a lot easier when he's not wearing armor. Now, I will note that HolySmith is currently doing the cutscene that we skipped earlier. It might be in order to try and resurrect Cyan. I'm not sure. Or he could
yes,
have just forgot.
No, this actually resurrects Science, so he's
Okay,
doing the
perfect. So
safety
he has
stick.
taken the time hit in order to have Cyan, which means we may yet get the suplex. We'll see.
Yep. So, as you saw on River's screen now, as he's falling down the waterfall, he's going to set up a very fun little glitch. So, Cyan has this weird tendency that after he's revived, if you cast Retort with him, he likes to counter everything. And by everything, I mean everything.
Everything.
Enemy attacks, your special moves that should have been used on certain trains, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do here is what's supposed to happen in this section of the game is you're supposed to fight these piranhas, and after a certain amount of time has elapsed, you fight a boss. But if you hit the piranhas with a physical attack and a magic attack simultaneously, we'll say it's pretty much simultaneously, it doesn't trigger that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to cast Suplex, but we can't suplex it, so that cancels our physical, and Retort actually counts as a magical attack. So, yeah, fish gone, no boss.
Yep,
Works.
it's pretty beautiful. One thing you may have also noticed is that while trying to attack Cyan, at one point Cyan's turn came up, but Cyan was at 18. Rivers purposely skipped Cyan's turn and made sure to attack with Sabin, because part of the safety strat of that is putting True Knight on Sabin, so he will will take any hits for someone who's in critical. That includes if Cyan tries to hit himself. That would have still been countered and protected by Sabin. So he had to make sure to do the final kill in that case with Sabin.
Who's this guy? I can't see him. This guy right here. He's draped in monster hides, but I can't see him. Do you know who this is?
I think he's a cool wild child. So he is our favorite G-Man, Gao.
Favorite G-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I see what you did there. Gao is actually a really interesting character because he doesn't actually have conventional attacks, but we'll get to that once we pick him up. So we're on the land of the Veldt, and the Veldt is a very special place. What we're gonna need to do here is we're gonna need to head over to town real quick, pick up an item so we can pick up the G-Man. But the Veldt is a place where, well, you fight everything you fought in the game before. So remember those brawlers we fought? Yeah, we fight them in the Veldt. Remember those Lobos and the guards we fought early on at the very beginning of the game? We fight them here too. So we're going to want to go ahead and head over to town to pick up our items so we can pick up Gao. But Gao, luckily, well, if we're lucky, we will get him immediately after going to town because we need an item, we need him to pop up. And he won't pop up in certain situations, certain enemy encounters and in pincer attacks. So
yeah, so you know it's totally safe in order to finish that encounter because you don't have to risk him showing up there. Because there's nothing worse than finishing an encounter and Gao showing up before you get the dried meat. That is literally the worst because one of the reasons this tournament is called Wherefore Art Gao is because can be a real turning point in your run. There's so much RNG involved with getting Gao and him showing up because while the step route will affect what encounters you get, it has no effect whatsoever as to whether Gao is going to actually show up. So,
right.
Yeah.
So luckily with our step route, and River should still be on it, he will get an encounter with one enemy, which will make this very quick. Yep, he gets the ghost. He's gonna Orbolt the ghost. And do we have? Did he win the lottery? Did he win the lottery?
He did not win the lottery.
No. So he's gonna get another chance. So our step route will actually take us to our next place, and we will get exactly 2 encounters. But if Gao does not show up, we're gonna need to get some extra encounters.
Yeah, exactly. So you're kind of rolling the dice. I think it's a 5 out of 8 chance of Gao showing up. And Rivers apparently used up all of his good RNG on encounters earlier. So we'll definitely have to see what happens. And Couch, to answer your question, I'm not actually sure which is faster. I hear mixed reviews, mixed answers on that. As for a pincer, whether it's faster to actually finish out the fight or to just run when you can. I was told it was faster to just finish it.
Yes, it is faster to finish it because each of those enemies you can kill them all in one hit, and I believe Cyan or Sabin will not have a full ATB afterwards, so it's faster to just kill them and not worry about the runaway from after the ATB, because to run away,
Oh,
hey, there's our
wow,
boy. So,
wow.
so to pick him up, we're going to have to throw the dried meat. Just to finish the other thought, remember it does take a full ATB and a full hidden gauge filled to run away from battles. So we throw the dried meat at Gal, and Gal's like, yummy.
So we
And
get this nice long mandatory cutscene now. As I mentioned before about the mashing, this you just have to hold A. There is no mashing in this cutscene. You literally sit there with the controller in one hand, holding the A button, and you can chill and for a minute and a half, and it's pretty great. One of the things which is kind of unhappy about this fight is, or that can go wrong, is that you wait so long for Gao to show up, and then if you accidentally use the dried meat somewhere you're not supposed to, such as on Cyan or Sabin, or you hit Gao before you get a chance to give him the dried meat. In any of these scenarios, especially as you're only buying one dried meat, you're in a bad scene. If you hit Gao, he is going to run away and you'll have to find him again. And if you use the dried meat on someone else, you're going to have to go back and pick up more dried meat. So you tend to want to take the extra second to make sure you're giving the dried meat to the right person. Rather than rushing through that, because it's a way greater time loss if you do it incorrectly.
right, but no one's ever done that before, right?
No, nobody. And by nobody, I mean everybody. Literally everybody who has done this run has done one, the other, or both. I know I've certainly used the dried meat on Cyan.
Cyan, Sabin's the man. Up, best moonwalk ever, by the way.
Best moonwalk ever.
So here's a cool thing about Gal. Gal doesn't have a attack or a fight command. He has what is well dubbed as the Rage Bar, and he gets a second thing called Leap. So Leap lets him jump into enemies on the belt, and because Gal's Gal, his Rage command will let him actually use those attacks. But unfortunately, it puts him in a berserk state, and he will use any attack from that enemy in the berserk state. So it's cool, but not cool at the same time.
Also, Kappa.
Kappa Kappa, where's my Kappas at?
Yeah, get your Kappas in chat, man.
I'm gonna need all my Kappas.
I gave you Ultrases instead. You're welcome.
Disqualified?
Too late.
Yeah.
So Gao has led us here because he assures us that he has a shiny and he needs to show it to us. It's totally going to help us because we're trying to get off the Veld and back to where our friends are. And so Gao's like, shiny, I've got a shiny. This is great. And you guys are like, well,
he's like 11, right? So
I don't know his actual age, but he is a someone who has been raised on the Veld. So we're just kind of like,
Well, I'm thinking it could be a Pokemon.
Exactly. So it turns out his shiny treasure is actually a singular helmet, which will allow them to breathe underwater. Somehow they are all going to manage to squeeze into the one, but it is exactly what they need to breathe underwater to go into what's called the Serpent Trench, which is going to take them to where they need to go.
Yep, so we're going to just jump in this river. Everything will be fine because science, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
That's science. So yeah, Sabin's scenario is actually the longest out of the three, and for my own personal taste, I love playing Sabin for this much out of the room. Yeah, the Serpent Trench is somewhere special. By special, I mean absolutely terrifying, and bad things can happen all the time.
Yeah, because one thing the Step Routing cannot manipulate is the Serpent Trench. So you kind of just have to deal with what you can. And other than one pit stop in the middle, you cannot heal except for in battle. There's no kind of in between. While you're doing this swirling through the trench, you have no control and have no access to your menu. Now, you might be looking at Rivers' screen and being a little scared for poor Cyan there, but in actual fact, we want Cyan to die because, as mentioned earlier, every character has an individually sized run gauge, and we're going to be running from all of these battles, and unfortunately Cyan, being the noble knight samurai that he is, has the largest bar to be filled up, so it takes him a really long time to run from battle. But you know what doesn't happen when he's dead? It doesn't slow down anything, so we kind of hope he gets killed.
Right.
Like he just did.
Yep. The only hazard that we may have is it's happened in some guy, some dragon with scratches on it. You could end up getting a pincer here, but we're not overly worried about the pincer. Did I cast a curse? Cast a curse? I didn't cast a curse, but but yeah, when you get it in a pincer here, it becomes kind of treacherous if you only have two characters. But it looks like Rivers is going to be okay. And he's just going to run away from all these fights. He gets preemptives because Final Fantasy loves Rivers apparently. And yeah, we're off to our wonderful town that we're trying to get to, so where we'll jump on a boat and be on our way to Narshe.
Absolutely, and you guys couldn't see it because you guys don't have the individual streams up, but Rivers did a little cheer when he got like the last preemptive to get through his trench, because he knew he had a really good trench. And yes, suplex all the Neta riders. I used to hit every single rider in one of the upcoming fights, so yeah, I don't like that dude. So he did make sure. Did he buy the pike there?
He bought 2 pikes.
Aha!
He has a lot of money. Wow.
Yeah, well, he sold the black belt earlier, and you get a 2,500 GP for that. So that gives him more than enough money to buy the other things he needs and pick up the very important stack of smoke bombs. So at this point in the game, running becomes super easy because he is going to be using those at any point, any battle he gets, unless it's preemptive and he decides not to. He's going to use the smoke bomb and use those to run away. It is beautiful. So that is officially the end of Sabin's scenario, and he is off to Locke's scenario.
Yep, so we're going to be doing a lot in Locke's scenario. We're going to have to go
huge amounts. This scenario is so long.
Yep, we got to go steal some clothes, and then we're going to go save some people, because Locke is back in South Figaro. And unfortunately, he slowed down the Empire a little bit too well, because they're still there. So we're going to go ahead and equip all our stuff. We're going to put... Well, I thought we were going to put sprint shoes on. Sprint shoes? Sprint shoes? Uh-oh.
He does not have sprint shoes.
You know what? I think I know what happened. So he took the sprint shoes and equipped it on Sabin, his second pair. And he has a pair on... He has a pair on Cyan. Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Is there anywhere he could buy sprint shoes in this
I don't know, and it probably wouldn't be very easy to get to, even if he did. That's going to be interesting. Nope, he's sitting there. He's oh no, his screen did freeze.
Okay.
I heard the music going.
For a second. So this is slightly concerning.
Oh, he's fine. Okay.
Uh-oh. All right, so we'll get to that in a second here, but yeah, we're on the Serpent Trench again over on Holy.
Serpent Trench.
Yeah, so we'll just go over one of the extra things on the Serpent Trench. So the first battle that you can get into on the Serpent Trench could be one Aquaform, which could be very treacherous because he could use a very bad attack called Aqua Rake that can just wipe your party outright. So what in those cases we want to kill him before he kills us, but usually you don't get that encounter. And with the left and right on the Serpent Trench, if you go right you end up in a cave, and if you go left you get an extra encounter. With the way we have it route, one Aquaform.
Oh, so I've got my stream back up for Rivers, and it looks like he was not unaware that you could still clip without the boots. So he safety saved before going into the trench. So Holy has retaken the lead. Or has taken the lead, I should say.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a race, actually. Well, we had a race before, but now we have a significantly closer race.
Yeah, absolutely. That really did change things. So he would have to... I'm sure he made sure to remove his sprint shoes this time. Because, yeah, those are... It just goes to show that sometimes you get some of those items are really important, and feel free to do your own route, but you got to keep an eye on it. So it definitely happens, but I love that the race is really tight and close now because it's anyone's race now. So it's really exciting.
Yep, I hope everyone's excited out there because now we're basically, I would say, not even 30 seconds apart.
Oh, we're really close for sure. And so it's going to depend on how they definitely play for the rest of it. So actually, Rivers might be ahead because I think he just got into the cave and I'm not sure that Holy has made it there yet.
No, Holy's already past the
Oh, he's
cave.
already past the cave. Okay,
He's
well,
already
then in
past
that
the cave.
case.
Rivers actually had to slow walk through the cave because he had to remove the sprint shoes. Oh no, here comes the pincer attack!
Oh, you used up the luck the first time. So in order to get out of a pincer attack like this, you need to kill the one enemy on the side by itself. And then you run away. Unfortunately, he is having to wait for Sabin to kill it because as soon as you've put Gao in a rage, he's a literal berserker. He just stays and he is now out of your control.
Right, and the Aspix unfortunately does some very treacherous attack. I believe it's Megavolt, Teravolt, one of those volts. But
No idea.
It one shots your party. It's kill someone volt. So yeah, that was, he got away. He's good. So as we see on Holy's screen now, picking up the smoke bombs and beating a quick beat out of town real quick to get over to Narshe.
Absolutely, and also picking up the pikes there, which saves them from going through the Moogle cave during Terra's scenario. Which I think it's technically faster to go through the Moogle cave, but there's so many Moogles in there which can just troll your movement, and it is technically a stronger attack when you have the double pikes. So yeah, they're kind of becoming the strategy that a lot of people are using because it's just easier in general.
Yep. Hey, actually, we do get to see Mog again. That's right, we get to see him here. I completely forgot that that's actually Mog.
Yep.
And then Holy is doing his safety save here. So back to the lock scenario. We're gonna have to do a lot. We're gonna have to save someone. We're gonna have to steal some clothes. We're gonna have to move some stuff around. It's a lot to do. So I hope everyone's in for a pretty comfy ride here.
Oh, the ride is so comfy. So making sure to put lock here in the back row. Or not the back row, the second row is that's super important. And so what you're doing here is you're timing it. So between going in your menu and having that soldier come down, you literally just clip right through him. So Celeste, other things going on, don't even worry about it. We're not going to deal with that. Locke certainly doesn't care about it.
Yeah, I mean that guy standing there was just you just walk around. It's fine.
Right? So now that that Holy and Rivers both had the smoke bombs, they are going to be using them gratuitously while heading back through this cave, because Locke does not want to be fighting anything at all. And he wants to get out of the battles as soon as possible because the more damage that he takes, the worse it could potentially be later. Even though there is a curative spring here, but very little curative items. So yeah, he wants to be as safe as possible. Also taking a passage which did not take before, that is to pick up a very essential critical item for this scenario.
Yep, we're gonna pick up something that we'll talk about that a little bit as we go on. But
Yeah, a thunder rod. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Mine just blew up my screen.
Yeah, Rivers has a very big resolution, so when he comes back, it's just like, oh, hello, entire screen. How are you?
Yep. So, one of the fun things about this kit is if Locke gets in a pincer attack, if he unfortunately gets in a pincer attack, the bear and the monster can kill him. That's why we use the smoke bombs, because, well, we got to get away, and even with a pincer attack, we can use smoke bombs to get away. But going on the Thunder Rod, what we're going to do here is, first things first, we have to talk about this mysterious voice that's coming out of Locke's head.
Hey, it said right there it was named Kutan at the beginning, though now it's lost its name. Very interesting. Love it how he talks to himself.
Yep. So by doing this clip, unfortunately, we were supposed to go and pick up an extra character, but we didn't have time for that. So the default character space is actually Kutan from the beginning of the game. So the game defaults to that. And oh wait, there was a boss there. Do you know what happened to the boss?
I don't know, it happened so quickly, it's gone. So it happens to actually, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to be using Celeste, and she uses Runic to draw off the attacks and you attack it. But we didn't initialize her at all. So instead, we pick up this Thunder Rod, which the tunnel armor is weak to. And by using it as an item, we use up the item completely, but we absolutely destroy this tunnel armor, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
So to go a little further into what happens with Celeste, this game makes a habit of reusing the storage memory for the characters. And from the beginning of the game, most of those slots are taken up by the Moogles, which you use in that first big fight with Locke protecting Terra. And so every time you meet a new character and you name them, that character slot gets overwritten. However, we did not meet Celeste and we did not name her. So when the game goes to draw on that slot, it goes, okay, I will take what is in that slot, which is still Kutan the Moogle.
Well, we like General Kutan, but you
General
know,
Kutan's amazing.
just going on the Thunder Rod tech real quick. I believe it also ignores magic resistance as well. That's why it does such a ridiculous amount of damage.
Yeah, I think it is Thunder 2.
Yeah, it's Thunder 2 with no magic resist on the enemy. It just pierces right through it. That's why the tunnel armors, which would typically be an issue, just kind of evaporates.
Yeah, it's pretty magical. So with that, we completed Locke's scenario, which was very different than we're all used to and extraordinarily short. But now both of them are in Terra's scenario, where they just finished up the river and made their way to Narshe. So working backwards through the caves, Ben and Edgar and Tara are working to reach back to the old man's house so they can let Narshe know that they need help and that bad things are coming. In the meantime, we still have access to those smoke bombs, which were bought in Saban's scenario. So we are going to run from absolutely everything. However, the game decided it wanted to give us a fun little security grid here, which it showed us this glowing light, and we are supposed to follow it in order to get through. And if we make a mistake, then you have to fight a really annoying battle. However, as you're going to see shortly, when you go off the path, you hit these lights, and if you hit the correct light, then you get through no problem. So it just so happens to turn out that by holding A, just holding it as you walk off the path, you will automatically, on the first frame that you can, hit on the correct spot. So you don't actually have to do anything special. So we take the path up until we're by the door, and then just cut and run.
Yep, and unfortunately, Pweck, so yeah, Rivers is not currently the River Whisperer because Rivers had, we'll call it an unfortunate setback, and he is no longer on his step route.
No, and actually, he had his first river was fantastic. He just forgot sprint shoes. So right now, again, they are just making their way through the Narshe caves. It is quite literally a race to who gets through the caves first. And yeah, I don't think either of them are on step route, so it could be anyone. And how long it takes them to run from battle and what encounters they get.
Yep, well, this is quite the race.
It's incredible.
I'm sitting literally on the edge of my seat right now. Rivers got one more encounter.
Oof.
From what I can tell right now, if my streams are synced.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, Holy made it through first.
Yep, the
But only by like a second.
Yep, Holy is slightly ahead, so this is going to come down to Kefka and how cooperative he wants to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh
So,
boy.
Now we're going to see all of the party members coming in. So we're going to get lots more cutscenes here as all the parties unite. People talk politics. We don't want to help you. No, you've got to help us. No, we're neutral. Oh no, the enemy's attacking. What shall we do? You've just been summarized. Yeah, it's super exciting, and you get to mash through it a bunch of times. It is a little neat because you get this epic walk shortly where everyone's kind of walking through and getting to know each other, and a lot of them are talking to Celeste, or as you will see shortly, General Kutan.
Who's this Celeste you keep talking?
I
I
know,
don't know
right?
anyone.
I don't know. They sound like a
Never.
pretty cool person to me.
I don't know. I like the green-haired one.
Yeah, now there's a lot which can come into effect here, which can really affect either of them timings wise. Whether they take the safety save, whether they've both managed to get their equipment in place, how well they do their menus leading up to um, before they start moving, whether they all dodge all of their encounters, especially the rider, and how their specific Kefka fights go. So there is still a lot which can tip the balance to either side of for both of these runners.
Yep. So I hope everyone's nice and comfy, got their popcorn ready because this is going to be a photo finish in my opinion.
It is going to be great. Well, they're literal seconds apart. So yes, we have a Moogle who has joined us. It is Kutan, one of the Empire's generals, who has been hiding out behind Narshe all this time.
You know,
Sounds suspicious.
General Kutan, you think you know somebody. You just think
Right?
you know somebody. Helped out Terra, was throwing the boomerang around, and General of the Empire.
Sometimes these people are just so sneaky and so good at what they do, but on our side now, so we're gonna take it.
Ah, adorable. Adorably evil.
Yup. So
So,
apparently the Empire cometh?
the Empire doth cometh. Exterminate everyone, idiot. Read my lips. March, 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 march.
Yep. Kefka.
Wahahaha.
Kefka super, super happy about
So,
everything, always.
if everyone remembers what we did at the beginning of the game, we're gonna do it again. We're gonna fight. Moogles will help us, right?
Oh yeah, totally. We're gonna have a party full of Moogles. No, we're lying. But we are going to have an equivalent fight to what we had earlier once we get through all of these cutscenes. So, and in the same manner that we took the Moogle fight, we are just going to take one party and we're going to go through it. But the difference this time is we get to build the party ourselves. So the goal here is to take our strongest members, shove them all into one party, and use them to walk up to the end. Now, we'll talk more about the walking paths and such that they'll be taking as they're happening, but it is going to look fairly familiar to you if you saw the Moogle fight at the beginning of this run, but definitely a really cool time.
Yep. And from what Vanny says here, and I can confirm it due to a little bit of timing I've done, they're about 8 seconds apart. And neither one of them took the safety save, so it's really going to come down to Kefka.
Yep, and they each have different party orders as well, so that'll be interesting.
Yep. Gimmick, yes, Kutan is adorable.
Right? We don't need safety saves.
No safety
We almost
save.
had Kefka's laughing in unison.
Yes,
How delightful.
Holy actually ended up saying no to Bannon once, so the gap is even smaller now.
Yeah, it is.
So,
And Rivers doing a bit of swag here. So did you know that if you talk to your fellow party members at the top, they will sit, not only will they talk to you, but the text box will get stuck. You
I
can
did
walk
not know
around with
that.
it. Yeah, I learned that while watching Rivers like yesterday. So I was like, that is so cool.
Yep, so what we're going to do here is the same thing we did in the first one. We're going to let the soldiers walk by, and when they put their foot forward, it's safe to not trigger the encounter. And what we're going to want to do here is skip this guy. This guy is a
both
jerk.
did.
Oh, very good. It looks like they're in the encounter at the same time.
Oh, yeah, they are.
So, do you want to explain the Kefka fight a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So the general strategy here is we do want to try and do a bit of weight tricking, but whether we do or not, the main what we're going to do is either use Hornet or Exocyte Rage for Gao. We want Aura Bolts from Sabin. We want to do Genji Glove regular attack with Edgar, and we want to just do Dispatch with Cyan. If done correctly and with appropriate weight tricking, we want to dodge Kefka's third attack, which can be any number of things, which could also include a full party ice too, which hurts so badly. So it looks like Rivers did get Bolt, which hurts, but not as much as that. Oh, so we do have an official finish time. That was incredibly close. 8 seconds between them, but HolySmith has won with an official SRL time of 1:33:20, and Rivers has come in second with an official time of 1:33:28. So great job to both of our runners. That was incredibly close there at the end and really well done. So what that means is HolySmith will proceed. His next match will be with another person who got a 1 win, 0 losses. And Rivers will be against someone who has another 0 win, 1 loss. So as it goes with the Swiss round matches. So really incredible, really good races. And I'm expecting amazing things from both of these runners with the next races. Any last things you want to say there?
I just want to put out there for anyone that may be listening or may be interested. Yes, you can do it. You can play this too. This game is so much fun to play for this short category. If you want an intro to speedrunning to RPGs, you should do this. If you're interested in seeing more, we do have another race tonight. I believe it's actually at midnight tonight. It is Zero Wing 211 versus Nits Guy 1. I do not know what channel that is going to be on, but I'm sure Riku Player will.
That
Yes, I will
should be
inform
on
you guys.
RPG Limit Break.
No, I'm gonna put on my own channel just
Okay.
because I don't want to do things with the Kingdom Hearts Marathon. I don't want to be messing with it, like if it might run late or anything. I don't know how far behind they are or if they're ahead right now. So it will be here, guys. So be sure to stop by here at midnight to catch Nits Guy 1 versus HolySmith. So yeah.
All right, so there you guys have it. Do we have anything else we want to put out there, Natara?
I do. I want to make sure these runners both did a great job, so make sure to give them a follow. I have linked them in Riku's chat, and if you enjoyed our commentary, feel free to give us a follow as well. I'm Natara, and I was with Scratch Dragon here. And also give Riku Player, our wonderful restreamer, a host who has been wonderful to host us today. So thank you for that, Riku.
Yep, thank you very much. Take it away, Riku.
So we are going to go and raid B-Fits right now since he's doing some practice with this. So yeah, be sure to stop by and give B-Fits some love, guys.
Woo, B-Fits!